Okay, so I'm going to do a video discussing the Centennial game, which is still going on. So the Leafs enter the third period down by a goal, score 4 in a row, and allow 3 in a row. So here's where we're at. You've got a young team. You got Matthews now with his 19th goal. Marner gets a goal. Connor Brown gets a goal. You tick off all the check marks. Anderson, good game till that last 5 minutes of the third, but the defense fell apart in front of him. And this I got to say too. Detroit, 8 points back at the playoffs coming into this game, could not afford to lose because anything further than 8 points and it's over. And 8 points is probably over. Now, with the point that Toronto just earned, they're tied with Florida. So they're 4 points out of the playoffs. They've won 4 in a row coming into this game. They are now in a position where they're in the conversation. And it's good for the league. And I can't remember the last time that I saw a team with this many rookies do well. I've seen plenty of teams with this many rookies, but I haven't seen them do well. And this team is doing well. Now, part of the problem with having a team of rookies is what's going on in this game. You have a veteran team in Detroit who don't panic and just gnaw away at that lead. And Anthony Mantha appears to finally be living up to his potential. But, you know, the criticism has been out there. I'm a Leafs fan, right? This hat cost me $6. This jersey cost me $15. In general, Leafs gear I've got has been very cheap, very easy to get. And I don't know. You know, I find myself cheering for the rookies, not cheering so much for Nazem Kadri. I normally don't cheer for Matt Martin, but his "I'm going to knock Steve Ott out" policy seems like a good one. I follow through and support anybody who wants to knock out Steve Ott. Yes, I couldn't stand Steve Ott when he was a Dallas Star either. When Dallas gave up on Steve Ott, I was very happy. So, in terms of which team I'm pulling for today, Toronto would have that support from me. So it does bring to mind the fact that I need to rethink my 30 favorite teams where I'm at right now compared to where I was last summer. It's changed. It's changed because of the makeup of the teams in general. I think, you know, whether the Leafs win this in overtime or lose it in overtime, they're ahead of the game right now. They're ahead of the curve. Last year they bottomed out, and let me just take a look here. Oh, let me just take a quick look here. Don't do that. Because I've got the record book from last year. Technically, this year's record book. And Toronto, who after today go into Washington, into Jersey, then they're home to Montreal, in New York against the Rangers, and in Ottawa. So in the next 5 games, they could lose 4. I'm not going to mince words on that. They could lose 4 of the next 5. And last year they beat Pittsburgh on December 30th, 3-2 in a shootout. And then they beat St. Louis 4-1. They beat Anaheim 4-0. So there was a 3-game winning streak in there. And their collapse really didn't hit until later in the season. But this is a team that has potential. And they finished 13 games below 500 last year. They only won 29 games, so technically it should have been 58 points, but it was 69 because of loser points. And it's crazy to think that this team could improve by, well, right now they're, all right, so Detroit wins it in overtime. Or did they? No, they just showed the celebration with the second lap. I'm turning around, I'm like, oh, they just showed Detroit celebrating. I guess they won. But Detroit understands what's on the line tonight. It's been an entertaining game. It's been one of the better outdoor games, I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think it's been one of the better outdoor games. I think they do too many outdoor games. I think There have been some years where you see 4, and I think it just gets a little bit much at that point. Not for the local fans, of course, but just in general, I think it's a little bit much to have 4. But now we're in overtime. It's 3-on-3, and they've got Austin Matthews out again. So even though Matthews loses the draw in the last minute and Detroit scores, Matthews gets another shot at it. What Babcock is doing here is he is allowing Matthews to decide the fate of the team. And that's saying a lot for Babcock, a guy known in Detroit for liking his veteran players. So you would expect Bozak out there as the guy taking the faceoff, but that's not what's happening. It's been Matthews. And again, whether they win or lose, they're right now 4 games above fake 500. I think they're 3 games below 500 in reality. But compared to last year, this isn't a comparison issue. This is a much better team. There's the talent, there's the excitement. So yes, I've been criticized recently for seemingly becoming a Leafs fanboy. I'm not. Absolutely not. But for me, I cheer for individual players. And I think of it like when I watched San Jose against, was it Dallas? I think it was against Dallas. And for San Jose, Brendan Dillon got the puck and took a shot. And I wanted Dillon to score. I don't like San Jose. I hate San Jose. But I wanted Brendan Dillon to score because I like that kid a lot. And I like him as a player. So I cheer more for players than I do for individual teams. There are exceptions, which are Dallas, Boston, Vancouver, and to some extent Ottawa. But it's more of a, okay, how many players do I cheer for in this team and how many players do I cheer for in this team? And the one that's got more players I cheer for, I'm probably going to want that team to win. But this game has been really back and forth. It was kind of slow at the beginning, but it's been picked up. And I'm glad Caro at least isn't going to take a regulation loss, because the goals that Toronto scored in the third period, he could sue for non-support from that Detroit defense. They were standing around. There's a lot of standing around for a Detroit team. Blashill, at the very least, they should be looking at replacing him. At the very least, be looking at it. Have it in the consideration, in the conversation, because Detroit, while undermanned for talent right now, to have all 5 of them standing around and watching while Toronto scores is disgusting. Should never happen to a Detroit Red Wings team. Would never have happened under Babcock. And definitely wouldn't have happened with Scotty Bowman in charge. And Detroit has gone really downhill. And I know people criticize Holland for the way he GMs, but really Detroit's been a team that's been coached really, really well for a long time. And now that coaching doesn't seem to be on that same level. Yes, the team's less talented, probably doesn't make the playoffs even with Babcock there, but I think they'd have a much better chance. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this now, and then I'll have another comment after the game has finished. All right, so Austin Matthews gets the goal. Connor Brown makes a fantastic defensive play when Detroit's on a 2-on-1. I'm telling you, this team is dangerous. 5 wins. I've been saying since the start of the year, Toronto's fun to watch, whether they win or lose. They blow a 3-goal lead in the third to Detroit. You can latch onto that and go, see, they're not very good. Detroit's not very good. They shouldn't have blown the 3-goal lead, but they win it in overtime. And Austin Matthews now has 20 goals. He is now on pace for 40-plus goals as a rookie. And we can discuss whether or not we hate the Leafs all day long. But a rookie who could score 40 goals is big news. At the very least, he scores 30 this year. And Marner, Brown, Nylander, Hyman, all rookies. This is a team that is being built to win later, and they're winning now. They're winning a year in advance of where they were supposed to. I can't see Shanahan coming out and going, oh yeah, no, we felt we were going to contend for a playoff spot this year. I honestly think Shanahan, if being honest, would say, we didn't expect Matthews to be this good this soon. We knew he was a good player when we drafted him. We're very excited with where we were at, and I think this is a team that at the deadline looks to add. I honestly think right now they're buyers, and I think they're looking to add and really capitalize on this, because the excitement level in Toronto has to be up. You Toronto fans, let me know in the comments. But this was a fun game to watch, one of the best outdoor games I've seen. Great start to the 100-year anniversary for the NHL, and that was great. So good for Matthews. I honestly, I'm a big fan of that kid, and I know there's people out there waiting for this team to fail, but they keep getting better as the season goes along. They keep getting better. So I could see Toronto getting into the playoffs, and just imagine, okay, just think about it for a minute. If Toronto somehow got into the playoffs and played Montreal in the first round, or makes the playoffs and comes off with some crazy upset in the first round and plays Montreal in the second round, what would that do for hockey? To have Toronto and Montreal, both strong franchises, both playing well, what does that do for hockey? And if you're a Montreal fan watching this, how would you feel going into a playoff round and looking across the ice to see the Leafs as your opponent? Don't pretend you wouldn't love it. Don't pretend you wouldn't love, because both Leafs and Habs fans relish the idea of their team knocking the other team out of the playoffs. And that could be coming very, very soon. That Leafs Canadiens series that I was waiting for in '93, that Wayne Gretzky screwed me out of. I wanted Leafs and Habs, and I hated both teams back then. But I really wanted to see that as a final because I wanted to watch the two original dynasties in the NHL go at it with one another. And it would be a fantastic series between the two of them. So just keep that in mind if you're a Montreal fan watching this video, that if these guys keep this up and they make the playoffs, they could be against Montreal in the first round. And that's good for hockey. That's good for hockey everywhere. Because even in the US, Leafs and Canadians are the two teams that everybody who follows hockey seems to pay attention to. Anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're passing through. And this gear is more of a, I had a feeling Toronto was going to win the game. The 4-1 lead, they blow the 4-1 lead. I still thought, you know what? I'm leaving this as it is. I'm not going to go get my Detroit jersey on and my Detroit hat. No, I'm sticking with it. The Leafs are going to win this game. So Detroit gets an important point, but they lose to Toronto. And Toronto now has jumped past, they have now jumped past the Florida Panthers, and they're 1 point back of Tampa, and they're 3 points back of Philly, and they have 2 games in hand on both. And they've won 5 in a row. So this was a big game. Thanks for watching. I will talk to y'all again soon.